problem went away, etc. But I'm always cautious to the extent of telling people to read the label themselves. And actually, legally, when you get right down to the technicalities of it, that's what you're supposed to do. But at the same time, I know from a field trip of 4 or so years ago to one of the large manufacturers, they were working on a material of this nature. It was not named whatever. It was just simply something they said, soon we're going to be able to do thus and so, and that may be the product that they were speaking of.
1-866-PLANT-TALK with 2 T's or 1-866-752-6882. More from Fred coming up next. Stick with us.
This summer at Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, the gardens are in full color. Walk amidst tropical and native butterflies in flight in the indoor Pacific Island Water Garden. View the conservatory's bonsai collection and experience the exhibition Origami in the Garden. Find details at fpconservatory.org.
And welcome back to the program. Mark News here alongside Fred Hauer, the Ohio nurseryman. And Fred, I know you're a scarlet and gray Buckeye at heart, but we went to the Big Red of Cornell University and found out some potato information. The lady called us up and said that she was having some black spots that went down into her potato. And, all of us who've ever cut into a potato know that's pretty common, but you've had some answers to it now.
Well, yes, happily so. And I just want to thank all of the land-grant colleges that deal heavily in agricultural subjects, and it doesn't have to be Ohio State. There are many other good ones, too. So thanks to them. Now, rotating the crop, well, let's go back to the fact that this is not uncommon, as it seems. Rotate the crop is one answer, and that's every 3 or 4 years, go break ground in a new area. There is no present fungicidal control that they or I know of. And then another thing that my granddad always fussed about was keeping the plowshares, let's just say, filed off and sharp and then deep. He was adamant about putting blocks on the plow. It's harder on the equipment to pull it through, but plowing deep turns a lot of the refuse from previous crops under far enough that they don't cause a problem to the new crop. So the only other thing I can say is this is more apt to happen with the late maturing varieties. So it is a fact. It may have indeed been the old-time famine. Don't know that. Don't really have to care right now. But as far as Mary's concerned, break new ground next spring. See what happens. Probably best to start with new stock. Don't save over your own potatoes for seed. Let's just say let's leave that as it's stated. Sometimes you can carry it over by using your own seed. You carry over some genetic problems, maybe a disease situation and so on. So, Mary, keep that paring knife sharp for this year, and then hope to go deep enough in a new area to start clean for next year, and I hope you don't have to call us again on that subject.
And also, according to the Ivy Leaguers, maybe the earlier crops have fewer problems. It's the later crops that seem to have problems with the fungus.
Yep. And that's let's just say that's all that they know.
Okay.
Therefore, that's all we can share.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Fred, fall gardening and container gardening, we talked about that. But let's talk a little bit more about, one of my favorite subjects, the poinsettias. You wanted to actually talk, come on, Christmas is still a good ways away, but now's the time to start thinking about it.
Well, and we spoke in the spring about people being able to keep the plants over, grow them until May 15 indoors, and then cut them back, set them out in the garden, in the container or in the garden itself. Either way, makes it easier if you did it in the container. Now, you're going to be not a professional as you follow these directions, but at the same time, if you have kept plants over, they are in that tropical range of things that cannot tolerate much below 40, let's just say comfortably. So dig the plant or lift the pot, get it indoors, recontainerized, whatever, get it growing indoors. Now, this is the unusual part. To the other plants, we talked about slowing them down, but in this case, you actually want to grow them after you have trimmed them back fairly hard. I'd go down to 8 or 10 inches at the least. Let's put it the other way around, at least down to 8 inches to get them to start over again. They'll sit there and look like you've killed them for a while, then they'll leaf out. As they do then, you want to start getting them into the dark, and I can't remember right now, and the plants, new plants, because of all the genetic manipulation in poinsettias, the new plants are not as sensitive to light at night. However, they are still a day-length controlled plant. I would still give consideration to putting them in the closet by 6 in the evening. Do not take them out of the closet or out from under the box or whatever. Dark room. Just don't interrupt that nighttime until 6 or more in the morning. And then give them a full day of sun, because they do need that to grow on. But then do not let them get light after 6 in the evening. And after you start to see what is a bract, it's the actual part that gets the color. But once that starts to form, then you don't have to worry about interrupting the nighttime circumstances anymore. And away you go into a plant that's enjoyable in and around the Christmas time.
That's a lot of dedication.
That's a lot of dedication. I can tell you that it's like growing your own apple in this case. It's cheaper probably, and get a better looking apple from the grocery store or the florist. But it can be delightful to do your own thing and win.
Well, you know, the rain has stopped, at least for now, here, so Fred's to-do list is maybe just a little bit longer. That's coming up next on Plant Talk. Stick with us.
This summer at Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, the gardens are in full color. Walk amidst tropical and native butterflies in flight in the indoor Pacific Island Water Garden. View the conservatory's bonsai collection and experience the exhibition Origami in the Garden. Find details at fpconservatory.org.
Well, as we spoke earlier, this is definitely the time to repair the lawn, seed or sod. Now, of the two, sod you can do clear up until around Thanksgiving. It's a little later than I'd like to, but it can still be done successfully. But repairing the lawn with seed is now. We're actually 2 weeks past the absolute, well, so to speak, absolute target. But if you get grass seed down now, it'll germinate. It'll grow, hopefully, tall enough to be mowed before winter. That's one of the first steps in success. And then do mow right on up. Now, Mark, pay attention. Right on up until after Thanksgiving, if it's still growing. That will mean that it's up and mature enough to make it through the winter. Do fertilize. Do not let it fold over itself in terms of ignoring the mowing, Mark.
Yeah. Up to Thanksgiving. I like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then it's time to remove the dying and or dead tops on hostas and peonies and daylilies, calla lilies as they are called. The tops on those things have probably done all the work they're going to do, supplied all the nutrients, the sugars and starches that they're going to do. So you can start cleaning up the garden in that way. I mentioned earlier that my mum has flopped over. Now, today it's standing up a little better again, but you might brace a few things like that and then enjoy the week. Hope we win the game, and we'll talk to you next Saturday.
And thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again next week for another edition of Plant Talk.
Plant Talk is sponsored by Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens, fpconservatory.org. If you have a question for Fred for a future show, go to our Facebook page and ask away. We value your comments about the show, so please tell us what you think by writing a review on iTunes. This helps others find out about Plant Talk. You can find out more about Plant Talk on our website at planttalkradio.com.